Assalamualaikum, my dear students. I hope all of you are fine and doing well. So the topic here we will discuss today it is the manufacturing of sodium hydroxide from the brine. So basically here we are going to learn about the sodium hydroxide preparation. First of all, you guys must know that what are the main properties of the sodium hydroxide and what is in reality. Basically, sodium hydroxide is having its formula. It is a chemical formula NaOH in which the one sodium combines with the hydroxide ion and making up it as sodium hydroxide. And its common name is as sodium hydroxide, which is called as its chemical name, and caustic soda is its common name. On the other hand, it is also called as the sodium hydrate, and it is an ionic compound. Ionic compound means when we just put it up into the water or we take its aqueous solution, it will be dissociated into its ions like sodium positive and hydroxide negative ion. And it is having ionic bond, so that's why it is called as ionic compound. Now, ionic bond is a bond that is formed between the ions, and these ions may be of two types. They may be of cations and they may be of anions. So it consists of ions, cations and anions, and it is an ionic compound. So in this picture, you can see that this is the sodium hydroxide, which is present in the white solid. It may be present in the form of granules or it may be present in the form of a powder. So it depends upon in which condition we just get the sodium hydroxide. So sodium hydroxide is basically prepared with the help of the cell which is called as the Nelson cells. The Nelson cells is basically a type of cell which is called as the electrolytic cell. And in this electrolytic cell, the first thing is the simple electrical energy is used to drive a chemical reaction. It's mean in this the non-spontaneous chemical process will takes place and the electrical energy will be converted into the chemical energy or to drive a chemical reaction. Now what does the chemical reaction takes place? This is the simple construction of the Nelson cell in which here we have a beaker. The two electrodes, the first one is positive and the second is the negative end, in which the graphite will work as anode. On the other hand, the iron will work as cathode. These two are the electrodes. Anode will carries the positive charge and the cathode will carries the negative charge. So here you can see that this is the negative charge carried by the cathode and this is the positive charge that is carried by the anode. When we just attach to the battery and fill it with the brine. Now what does mean by the brine? Brine is a solution of sodium chloride in its concentrated form. This is called as the brine. When we take NaCl in its concentrated form, this is called as brine. Now from brine we will prepare the sodium hydroxide which is called as the caustic soda. So it is basically consisting of a hard part which is the steel tank containing two electrodes, anode and cathode. When we just put up the brine in it, here the cathode that we use, it is perforated cathode. Now why do we use the perforated cathode there? The simple reason is this: just to gain the sodium hydroxide solution in the catch basin, we use this because here the production of the chlorine gas and the hydrogen gas also takes place. So these two gases just remove from the outlet that are on the top of this cell, and in the downward we take the sodium hydroxide in the catch basin. Basically, Nelson cell is a steel tank. This is the simple dropping of the sodium hydroxide. Here we take the brine and this is also called as diaphragm cell. Now this diaphragm cell is also having the covering with a chemical which is called as asbestos. Now the question arises why it is covered up with the asbestos, because The electrolyte brine is present inside the iron, so it do not get react with the iron. We have to cover it with the chemical which is asbestos and chemically inert towards the brine. So this is a simple Nelson cell. Now, how do the Nelson cell work and what type of reaction just takes place? This is also the simple Nelson cell in which the sodium hydroxide is over there in the gas basin. First of all, we have to take the saturated NaCl solution in this diaphragm cell outline covering with the porous asbestos. Here is the chlorine. The charge of the sodium chloride will be from there and it will be present over there. Now, the oxidation reduction takes place. The hydrogen and chlorine gases will be produced and the sodium hydroxide will be produced. How do it happen? Basically, the oxidation and reduction reaction or a complete redox reaction just takes place in the Nelson cell. When brine just undergoes the process of ionization, the sodium chloride changes into its sign as sodium positive and chlorine negative. Now, after the change into ions, positive and negative, the reaction at anode is oxidation. The chlorine will move towards the anode and lose the electron, changes into the chlorine gas, and it will be moved from there. Next reaction is at the cathode, which is the reduction reaction. Now, the water that we use as aqueous solution, it contains positive ions and the hydroxide ion. Now, these hydroxide ions will move towards the cathode and changes into the water, oxygen gas, and produces the four electrons. Now, these four electrons are lost by the hydroxide ion, so this process is called as reduction. Now, the sodium ion, which is present in the brine, and the hydroxide ions, which are from the aqueous solution, they combine and produces the sodium hydroxide. And the overall reaction for this process is as the sodium chloride combines with the water, or we take its electrolytic solution in the Nelson cells. It produces three products. The number one product is the hydrogen, second one is the chlorine, and next we have the sodium hydroxide, which is called as the caustic soda. So this was a simple working of the Nelson cell for the production of the sodium hydroxide. I hope you guys understand, and if you have any queries, you may ask me about that in a comment section and I will get back to you guys soon. The next topic that we will discuss it is Korean and its examples. For that time, you guys keep learning and have a good day.